All right. Hi there, everyone. My name is Nathan. Thank you so much for joining us today on this virtual field trip sponsored by the Ceramic and Glass Industry Foundation. Today, we're going to be touring a brick manufacturing facility in Sugar Creek, Ohio, and we are fortunate to be the guests of the Belden Brick Company. It's a family-owned and operated company that has been in the brick making business for over 140 years. Our tour guide and expert is a man named Scott Gerber, who is the plant manager that will walk us through the brick making process from start to finish. Scott has worked for the Belden Brick Company for 35 years, and he started there when he was a student in college at Kent State University. He worked part-time for Belden as a student and then full-time after graduating, and he has stayed ever since. Before we begin the tour, I just wanted to introduce a fun fact. So the the world's oldest known bricks are over 9,000 years old. So civilizations have been using bricks for a very long time. Archaeologists discovered sun-dried mud bricks in the ancient city of Jericho, dating to around 7,000 BC, long before writing or the wheel was ever invented. Made from mud, straw, and water, these early hand-molded bricks became one of the first man-made building materials, and it's clear that they've been used for a long time, but today we want to see how they're made in the modern world. And so we're very fortunate to be the guests of the Belden Brick Company, and we'll dive right into the tour. But before we do, I wanted to let everyone know that we are really interested in getting your questions throughout this virtual field trip. So we've already gotten a lot of great, exciting questions from the audience before this event, but if you have any that pop up while you're watching, please feel free to use the Zoom Q&A feature to send us your question, and we'll do our best to answer that during the tour when it fits into the process or as they come in. And I did just want to let everyone know that the YouTube chat feature is disabled for this virtual field trip. So if you have any questions, please go to that Q&A feature. And with that, I wanted to start off by answering two of those questions that came in before the tour. These were popular questions. They are, what is mined to make bricks, and how is that raw material brought into the plant? And so to start this tour, we're going to show some images, and Scott is going to start talking us through the process. So Scott, we're going to show images of the fire clay and shale. And if you'd like to introduce the process from getting those raw materials from the earth, we can start there.
Very good. I want to welcome all of you. I know there's a lot of students out there. Belden Brick is proud of the what we do here, but what you're looking at right now is the earth material that we're going to make brick with. We mine all of our material. We own our material. That's an advantage. Every manufacturer has an advantage. Belden Bricks is that we own and mine our own raw material. So as that video or pictures go on, you'll see that shale is on the top layers of our Earth's formations, and we mine the shale. You'll see later that it produces a red brick. It's for the iron content that's in it. And then underneath that shale formation, there's obviously the fire clay. The fire clay formations are a deeper mine. We have to go down a little deeper for that. And as we progress through these videos, please know, students, that there's a job behind everything we're looking at. There's a machine operator, there's an excavator, there's a truck driver. Belden Brick has about 400 employees, and it takes every one of them to create an orchestra. This is the screening process there. After you see that dump truck being loaded, it gets brought into the factory. That's in its most raw form that you're seeing it right now, being taken out of the hill. As it gets traveled back into the hill from the pits, it'll eventually make it into the factory. There he's transporting the material. Once it gets to the factory, it's going to get dumped into a grinding crusher. And those crushers are going to get it down from its rock formation that you see into an even finer material. Here the truck is approaching the grinding plant. That's close to where we're standing now. As that raw material is being dropped, you can see the larger material that it's being brought in. In a few minutes, you're going to see what actually transpires after it goes through its grinding and crushing process, screening. There's the crusher that it's being dropped into. It's actually pulverizing the material that we're looking at. Keep in mind, we actually have the operators that are running this facility. There's 2 or 3 guys at any one time that go up there and help out with this process. After the material is crushed, there's some more crushing on the rock formation. It's going to eventually get to a screening process. A few minutes here, you're going to see the screening process. Once that screening process is made, it'll get a muller wheel is going to press it down into the size that we're getting it even finer. Once that screening's done, it's actually entering what we're looking at right now. It's called a pug mill or an extruder. A lot of you kids will know this. That's a fancy word for a Play-Doh machine. If you've made Play-Doh, you can make a brick. So that raw material, this is the first place in this pug mill that you're looking at. It's being mixed with water. That's the very first time in our process that water is introduced with our fire clay and or shale material. And yes, we can actually mix both the fire clay and the shale material, and those make over 400 styles that Belden Brick offers. As it's dropping down into the shaper cap, that's the size that we wanted. Once that the yellow die cap, that's what you're looking at. As it's coming out of the die, on this particular day we were filming, we were making a textured brick. You can see that we put a knife apparatus on it and scalped some of that material off. This picture that you're looking at now is actually a clay ribbon that they call that extrudes out the extruder. And eventually that clay ribbon is going to get to the cutter. That cutter is specific to the size that we want. And keep in mind when we're putting all this together for production, we have operators that have to manage all this. They have to temper the material with water. We have it built on electronics that actually are sensing the amount of water that's in that material 24/7 as we make the brick each day. They know that the amperage and that constitutes the stiffness of the material, that's exactly where we want it. They're able to read that. It takes a lot of electricians. It takes a pug mill operator that's very intuitive into how he wants that clay ribbon to actually come out of the die so it has good strength. You want that good strength because you'll see later when we stack the bricks, we don't want them to deform. So here's a live shot of our pug mill. It's some of the raw material that we brought in. We call those a pug mill knife. And what that's doing, it's mixing the water. If we were to put any additive to that column or that clay additive to make it a different color, it's actually homogenizing and mixing the material so it's ready to make a brick. There's particularly at Plant 6, you'll see as we go along, it's a very diverse workforce. There's women. We have the Hispanic group. There's lots of people that can offer their talents to us. Whether you like the physical labor, whether you like just brick making, whether you like mechanical, there's lots of things and moving parts here. We like to look at it maybe as an orchestra. It takes 85 people at Plant 6 Belden Brick to produce what we're going to go through and see today. And any one person's job is as equal to and as important as the whole picture is. So if you're interested, it's just for you guys to realize there's lots of things to do in manufacturing, and Belden Brick isn't any different. It takes a lot of good people to want to for a common goal to make the end result. From this point here, I think we'll transition to the next level. If there's
Scott,
any questions? Yep.
That was great to get to hear a bit of an overview of the process and then get to see uh, those knives mixing together the clay. So now that we move to the end of the extruder, um, what what is this big long column called, and what kind of
Yes.
what kind of consistency does that have?
Yeah. So as we spoke earlier, you've seen it in its raw form. You've seen it as rocks. You've seen it screened. You've seen water being added to it. The shaper cap or the die, it's the size that we want it. And obviously the compaction of the material is being pressurized. And that pressure is making what this column looks like as a density that we want. Now we have the operator down here. He's managing the pug mill from down here with some of the operationals, and he actually knows how consistent that he wants our moisture content in this clay ribbon. This particular one you can see is very smooth. This is going to be a high-end smooth brick, and it's a certain size. We have to calculate this green size. After it's dried and fired, it'll actually shrink down in its firing process. It's in the firing process that we have to calculate what we think it'll end up. And Belden Brick is very good at calculating that size. It's not a perfect world, but 95% of the time we're right where we want it to be. On this side of we have two extruders. There's actually four in operation here at Plant 6. It's a very similar clay ribbon. Um, there's a slight color difference between the two, and that's probably all about the additives that are inside this clay ribbon. We'll transition into the cutter from the clay ribbon. It's a measuring belt that's telling the cutter when it actually has to cycle. That's how we know when to, the machine knows when to go through its cycle for the cuts.
That wire cutting process, Scott, is pretty exciting. I think we have some B-roll footage to show again of those wires going through on that moving column of green bricks to show them being cut. So I think we're
Yeah,
going to show that now.
yeah. It looks like all the brick may be the same, but we actually have different dies for all the sizes that we have. That cutting, that's called a reel cutter. Yes, there's lots of maintenance to those. There's lots of jobs that you can do while you're working with that. There's different cutters also. So let's just say we're going to be to the end of this production run. We'll have to change all that out. And the staff that works the line, they're part of that change out team. And it's much like a little NASCAR where everybody's got a wrench. They all got something to do. They all have a part to play in it. And that helps keep our changeovers, our downtime limited. We want to stay on schedule. We want to get brick made as efficiently as possible.
Scott,
After it's going to leave the cutter, then it'll
Scott,
get
we
to
have
our piece
we have
workers. Yep.
two quick questions about that.
Yeah.
So I think they're both related to the extrusion process, and they notice that there are either holes in the bricks that are air pockets, or are they there intentionally? So the audience was interested in if you could talk about how those holes get in the middle of the brick as they're coming out of the extruder.
Well, here's a really good video. You can see where the core holes are going down. This is considered the red belt that you see as an off-bearing belt. That off-bearing belt is at a different speed than where it came out of the cutter. The different speed of that belt is what is separating each brick. So our piece workers at the other end can actually put the brick on. Now, those holes do a whole lot to the whole operation. Number one, it helps the workers stack the brick on the cars. That's first thing. It's got some finger holes for them. The second thing is it's very valuable in the extrusion process because with the clay coming out around the shaper die, it helps put pressure to the edge of the brick, making it stronger. The other thing that it does is it creates good uniformity when we dry the brick. It helps when we fire the brick for color uniformity. And at the end of the day, when we load those brick on a truck, there's logistics managers. There's some more jobs out there. There's logistic managers out there that are calculating the job and how many truckloads of brick it will actually take to get their brick from Ohio to their job destination. And that is all calculated. How do you calculate all that? We have to make sure that our coring sizes are uniform and they're the same. They're calculated so everybody can do their forecasts and takeoffs. So that little hole in that Play-Doh machine is a big, big deal.
That sounds great. And we had another quick question talking about how long it takes to get to this process from the mine to the mixing to the extrusion to what we see here in the video that's playing of the workers taking them off the assembly line and stacking them up, those green bricks onto those pallets.
Yeah, so the mining operation, we have bin capacity that we can stay ahead of production about a day and a half to two. So let's just say it took 2 days to actually to come out of the bottom of the bin. But brick making is 5 days a week for us, and we make X amount on each line to produce that. But if you're actually talking about a car's worth of brick, probably from start to finish, out of the extruder onto the car, you're probably talking from pit to the kill car to the worker. You're probably talking 2.5 to 3 days, just to get the raw material to where the pug mill is. Outside of that, we have storage that keeps us in raw material form, and we can make brick every day because of the storage bin capacity that we have.
Great. And one more question as we transition to our next spot on the tour.
Yep.
I was wondering from a question from Amy. Amy was asking, how many bricks are made in a day at this plant?
Yes, that's a good question because in any one manufacturing facility at Belden, they all can make a different amount each day. So at Belden Plant 6, if you're looking at one of those extruders, an extruder can make about 70,000 in a day. We produce enough brick to run 24/7, 365. So you're looking roughly on an average push rate schedule. 70,000 a day. We have 3 of those lines. We're making at this facility almost 210,000 brick in a given day. So multiply that out times the week. You're getting into the millions a month. We're producing millions of brick a month. So yeah, it adds up quickly when you're going one by one every day.
Wow, that sure is a lot of bricks. What is the largest brick that you are able to make? That's a question that comes from Courtney.
Yes, large brick are a challenge, and marketing and sales, there's always a challenge out there to make a bigger brick. So the bigger the brick, the more delicate the process is because of drying and firing. You have to have the right equipment. But we actually at Belden Brick, not at this facility, but at one of our Plant 2 locations, it can make a 15 and 5/8 brick by 7 and 5/8 brick. So it's almost 16 inches long by 8 inches wide. That's almost getting into the block style, but that's getting pretty big for a clay manufacturer to be able to produce. Just because of the drying and firing process is delicate, the bigger they get. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I see you're close to that drying process. So maybe we'll get to see some of that in action. And we have some footage too that we can show here.
Yes, the drawing process is, well, you might want to consider it stage 3. You got grinding, then you had extrusion, now you have drawing. And the video might show that they're chamber dryers or tunnel dryers where they hold 12 cars each. We have 8 of them here. So there's 96 cars that are going to end up getting dried with hot air return from the kilns. We actually have inspirator burners that keep warm air in there 24/7. And that drying process takes about 3 days till it's ready to get to the till it's ready to get to the kiln area. So,
Wow, that's an exciting process. And we have another question um, related to this process of drying and the green brick. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the green brick is before it's been dried and fired. Is that correct?
yes.
So what
Um,
what sort of chemical components make up that green brick that can make it stronger and maybe when it's processed in the drying and firing process, add strength to the brick? That's a question from Gloria.
yeah. So if you were here live and we walked up to the brick that are stacked, these are all made. They're not dried yet, but there is what we call a green brick strength. And what creates that is the die that you saw with those core buttons and the pressure that's coming out of there. You can see where the die was getting smaller and smaller, and it's compacting that material from a very loose form that it started in on top of the pug mill. So that brick strength that we extruded through a die, putting the pressure on it, created what we needed to do to form it. And then your water composition, it's a balance. Our operators know that we have to have a good amperage on the pug mill to extrude a stiff brick. These are extruded bricks. Some brick making is soft mud, but these are extruded. So now you can see how the guy stacked them. Yes, our green strength has to be stiff enough so when they're stacked on these kiln cards that they don't deform, and they'll hold up to this process. You can see on the video, they're very square and straight. Our piece workers did a wonderful job setting these. The setting is by design with the spacing. That's for all airflow. That's for good heat work. So, like I said before, it's an orchestra of a lot of people doing a lot of things the way they need to be done to create a really good product. So that's how they actually, and then they'll just continue to dry, and the moisture's leaving right here on the floor. They're actually leaving. When we put it through our drying process, we're assisting and speeding up that process. You can actually speed it up too fast, they might crack. You can fire them too fast, they still may crack. So even though you think we have to really push hard and fast, not with every product can we do everything exactly like we want it. It's a maturing process that we have to respect in our transition on to the kiln section.
Well,
Uh,
thanks for
yep.
showing us that, Scott. There was a question from Linda asking, how does the brick stay in its form when it gets dried? And so, hearing you talk about the precision that the workers put into making sure that they stack the bricks in the right ratio, and the fact that that extrusion process squeezes out all the air pockets within that, so it's a very dense green brick. You guys have this process down to a bit of a science, it sounds like.
Yeah, even though it seems like we're Freddie Flintstone and we're grabbing dirt out of the ground and we're throwing rocks inside of a machine and we're making bricks out of it. Yeah, we've come a long way. It's there's a lot more science to it than you can think of, and that's another reason it takes a lot of people to actually get it from point A to point B. Yes, it can be humbling at times, but we do the best we can to figure it out.
Well, this is great. And am I correct in seeing that we're near the firing process? Is that the stage you're at now?
Yeah, this is where the dryer it ends and the kilns start. And we have what we call firemen. There's some more workers. Those guys are on shift. They're one of the few workers at Belden Brick that are on shift work. So those guys' responsibility at Plant 6 is to make sure on a timely basis that they get it out of the proper dryer, into the proper kill at the proper time. And there's one more thing. Uh, there's only two guys on a shift. We have shifts that are around the clock. So those guys see days and midnights. We can't do it without them. Those two guys are vital to our operation when we're not here. They're here making sure that the brick are getting baked uh, right where they need to be. And as we progress through the firing, let's say that it took 3 days at Plant 6 on the current schedule. 3 days to get it made and dried. It's going to be about 6.5 to 7 days till it exits the kiln. Um, and you're looking at about till it gets packaged. We're going to come close to packaging. You're looking at till it hits the ground and ready for service or to put on a truck. You're looking at about 10 days till it's the very start till it's ready to put on a truck. So we'll transition from the kiln and you'll actually see a packaging operation. I don't know if there's any questions between here.
There is, and I'm gonna ask another one from Gloria, and this is a question I had before we started this tour. How hot does the kiln get? We showed footage of the kiln that was on, and I think we can pull that footage back up again. And we could see that it was so hot inside that it was glowing orange. So how hot is it in there with those tubes that are pumping the heat into that big long rectangular kiln?
Sure. Obviously, the different materials need a different temperature, but our temperature ranges on a shale, which is the red brick that we're probably looking at right now. That's around 1940 to 50 degrees. And it's not subjected to that heat the whole time it's in the kiln. It actually has to mature from the front end of the kiln incrementally till it gets to its mature temperature of the highest point temperature. And then from that point, it'll cool. But these guys are working on some red brick that you see. Those are about 1950 degrees. And right behind it, you're going to see a fire clay brick that they're going to get ready to do next. And that fire clay brick was around 2060 degrees. So it does matter what temperature we choose to the brick style that we need.
Well, that's great. Now that we have our brick that's been fired, it sounds like it takes a lot of time, about 7 days, you said. And we have another question really focused in on this part of the tour. How do they get such different colors? I know you mentioned iron oxide gives that red color, but do you guys control the colors with precision?
Yes, great question. For the 400 styles that we do offer and colors, you can take just the shale and put additive with it. You can take the shale and a percentage of the fire clay, any given percent, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 60, 80%. And every gradient change there that you give will give you actually a different color of brick. So you can see there's a lot of combinations. And that's just with the two raw materials. You can do that same thing when you put the fire clay as the dominant color, introducing the shale to it. You can have all those increments of percentage changes. And that's just with two raw materials. You can create a very good color palette with just those two materials. Now let's take both those combinations and we have additives that we can actually, that are special colorants. They're dry powders that we introduced to the extruder that you saw where the mixing tub was mixing it all up. That's where we can put different additives. You can put different percentages of additives in any one of those combinations of styles and yet come up with some more colors, styles, and combinations. So it is almost endless. And I don't think we've come to the end of it. Although if you talk to a Belden Brick worker, they think we do a lot of colors, a lot of times, and we do create a lot. We do a lot of custom work. Belden Brick's founded and proud of that we do custom work. Custom work isn't something that's done everywhere, but Belden Brick does a really good job of it. It's a challenge for us, and it takes a lot of workers to do all that. Even in the mining, we have a lab. It takes a geologist. We have a pit superintendent. He has a staff members for him that mix up all these combinations that I just talked to you about. And that's how we learn and do before it hits the factory floor. We're doing a lot of testing before we actually come up with the final product. So it's all interesting.
Wow, that's great to hear. And
Yep.
you
Well,
answered a question from Aaron, without me even having to ask it. Aaron was asking about the custom bricks. And it's clear that you and the team there at Belden can make so many different types of bricks. And there was one question from Gloria and also Gabrielle that was asking about with all those different types of bricks and sizes of bricks, um, how many do you make, and what are some of the let's call it the top three that have good applications? So maybe a big brick, maybe a decorative brick, or maybe a certain color, since you have examples there.
Yeah, so when you talk about specialty brick and some custom pieces, um, what we got here is just a couple of quick examples of what you can do with two types of material and blending them together. These are hand done shapes. Uh, we do that here. This is one that we probably could have extruded with a knife apparatus and made some. That's just a couple combinations that we do. But as far as brick sizes and styles, there's there's a lot of them. Yes, we do have a price list item that we try to stick to, but some of the architectures, they have a one-off building or they have a concept design that they want to bring to life. Um, Belden Brick welcomes that. We have a great shapes department. We have good customers, salesmen. We always are trying to entertain. What did you come up with next? Does it drive production guys crazy? Sure, it does. But that's kind of how the world goes around. But Belden really tries hard to satisfy customers, and architects, they love to leave their name on a product. It's their building. They're proud of what they're going to accomplish with this project. We try to bring all that to life um, at the Belden Brick Company.
Well,
We're going to
that's a
transition into the next phase, I think. So if you got
yeah,
any more questions.
that's
Yeah.
great to hear, Scott. Thank you for talking in detail a little bit more about that. And as we transition to the next spot, oh, I see you have a glazed brick there.
Yes, I'm going to take it down and we'll see a lot more colors. We're going to transition into the package side. This is just one of the processes that we do in the glaze operation. We've been done it here at Plant 6 for many years. And just in the last 6 or 7, we've done a lot more of it. So in the glazing, uh, that's just opened up a whole new door of what schools, colleges, a lot of what they want to get done, and they come up with the color schemes. We have a full lab at the accessory to make glazes, and we can color match a lot of those things. And it takes lab technicians to do that. There's a whole team behind the glaze stuff, and we're going to come up to some of the display areas where we do custom colors and all kinds of glazes that are on the shelf. There's greens, there's purples, and behind every color, we had to do a mix. You know, we had to do a test. We had to do some legwork on it. And
It sounds like it takes a whole team of everyone there that we've seen working today, but also scientists and engineers on the back end who are coming up with a lot of these colors and then working with you and your team to implement them.
yeah, it really does. And I use it over and over. When you think of an orchestra and you have all the divisions of instruments that it takes to make that beautiful sound, the brick making, that's what it reminds me of. It takes every one of the players to make music, and at Belden Brick, it's a big team. Our ownership supports it. Uh, fifth generation, maybe coming on sixth. That's a long time. That's a long time.
Well, we got one of my favorite questions that just came in the chat, and it's something that we talked about uh, last week, but how heavy is an average brick? And maybe I could extend the question that Courtney asked to say, how heavy is it when it's green and still has water content inside? And then how heavy is the finished dried brick on average? So for like a normal brick.
I think Courtney knows something about brick making. Those are good questions. Um, but Yes, obviously the brick are heavier when they're in their wet stage, the green stage. And yes, they lose that moisture and they do get lighter. On the average brick size that you're talking maybe a modular brick, you're looking at it's going to lose about a pound, uh, 1.3 pounds of moisture out of that brick, close to 2. It really depends on the size because we make all kinds of size. But on the average, you're going to go from about 5.5 pounds on a modular brick to 4 pounds after it's fired. That's on
Wow.
a modular size brick. But that
So
combination happens on every brick we make. So
now that I see that you're out by the packaging side of things, we have some
yeah.
footage that we can play of that packaging process. And hearing you say that each brick is about 5 pounds, as we show this footage, we'll see pallets that are stacked with lots of bricks. So those pallets must be weighing about 1,000 pounds.
Well, it depends on how many you put in that package. An average package on a modular brick, because there's different sizes, is 525 in a cube, and they're average about 4.1 pounds a brick, or four, right in that area. So you're closer to the 2,000 pound mark, give or
Wow.
take. Yeah, you're giving or take. Our lift trucks are loading right now as we speak. We love when these trucks are being loaded. That's the fruits of our labor. I call them kids. We make all these kids, and we're gonna have to send these kids away. We're gonna put these kids on a truck, and they're gonna go do things for us. So we get attached to them. We really do. We've had our hands on it from for a long time, and now here they go. They're getting ready to leave. So
And that brings up another great question from Courtney, that we've seen this uh, packaging process. We see in the videos that they're getting wrapped, and then we see there in person, they're getting put on the trucks and then shipped out. Where is the farthest you have shipped your bricks? That's the question from Courtney.
yeah, that's a great question. I don't know specifically uh, from any one particular Belden plant, but I do know that Plant 6, we have shipped plenty of specialty products uh, across the waterways to South America. We've done some large projects over there. Um, I can't think of anyone in my mind that might be further. Uh, we have shipped brick in containers across the pond. Let's put it that way, in the ocean, and we've gotten them to other countries. How, but I think that's a long way. The weight, when you start talking the weight and getting it from one country to the next, that adds some cost to it. So even
I'm
though we're proud we can send them anywhere, there's a logistics thing there for sure.
I'm sure it's definitely very expensive to ship all those bricks with how heavy they can be.
Sure.
So we have a question that came in earlier from Aaron, and we see that you're with some of the bricks here, some of the specialty bricks. Maybe you could talk through some of these, and then this question is directed, what are the costs of bricks? So if you could just give us an idea of how expensive it is to buy one brick and maybe buy a brick that's the generic normal brick versus some of these specialty bricks that we see behind you.
Sure. Yeah, you're talking about some brick that are just right out of the extruder, and they're just a shale brick and in its earth form. And there's plenty of red brick that we ship. It's still a very popular seller today. You're looking into the 50 cent range, and just a circle. And then obviously when you're getting into some of these, we're proud of this American flag. These are 3 colors of glazes, and we found a way to put some stars on them. And the glaze, you're getting upwards into $1.80 a piece, depending on uh, how difficult it is and the size of the brick. So everything is based on a modular size at 50 cents. And then let's just say that incrementally on the size and the difficulty and the additive, that cost goes up from that baseline upwards. And the video she's taking now, she's just going down through some of our quality check measures of some different product that just recently came out, probably just in the last 3 or 4 days. And we do this as a quality review. We love to see them outside. We want to see what the actual product looks like, and we'll take samples off of these and review them. We take photos of them, and as you can see, when everything that we talk about that something that needs done and we provide, know this, if you're a student at home watching this, that there's a job out there for you. The manufacturing in the United States, it still takes a lot of workers. And even by doing this, we're hoping that all the young people back there are looking at a chance that, hey, there's manufacturing out there. There's a place for me. There's a job for me. And hey, we're biased. We'd like you to be at Belden Brick for sure. So.
Well, thanks so much, Scott, for getting to show us through that process. The second part to Aaron's question was, since you said the bricks are 50 cents and there's about 400 bricks on a pallet, that's great to see that those pallets that are carrying the product are somewhere between $200 and $300. So that's really interesting. And then to get to see the final product there, we do have some examples of Belden bricks out in the world. So right now we're showing an
Yeah.
image of the classic red brick that's used for residential. And so here's an example of a white brick. Scott, I don't know if you want to take a look at these since you're so familiar with them and maybe
Yeah.
talk towards some of these products.
Yeah. Obviously, it's very unique to see that those viewing, they saw something coming out of the hill in a rock formation. And then we put it together to make it look like that. And sometimes even our own workers don't get to see them in their live form when they're actually done. But the red ones obviously have we talked about the shale, and then there's the combinations in between. And when you look at what we started with a handful of dirt and some rocks, and to see some of these finished products, it really is amazing. We've came a long way from the caveman days, and even as a manufacturer of many brick, to see those pictures, it's kind of makes you proud. It makes you look at things differently. We call ourselves brickheads because our whole organization, even my wife, I go to the supermarket and I said, "Did you see those brick on there?" She says, "No, I'm sorry, I didn't see those." So we look at things differently. But those are great looking brick. We're proud of what we do here. There's a lot of combinations that we can put together to make all those looks. And there's architects out there that are dreaming that stuff up. They had design teams to do all that. Uh, there's actually a lot of work. There's a lot of jobs out there that tie itself to the brick world. It's not just brick making, but there's a lot. So we hope if you're out there, you're interested in something like that.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for taking us through that process from start to finish. I completely agree with you that what makes this opportunity so valuable is getting to see it go from the ground through your factory and then a finished brick out there in the world. And so I know we didn't get to travel to some of these amazing locations that have these bricks in use. You mentioned that there would be maybe some examples that are across the ocean in different countries, but getting to see those pictures out there, you're right. The architecture is beautiful, and hopefully it's something that people admire and appreciate, and it's a material that lasts for a very long time. And so we here at the Ceramic and Glass Industry Foundation hope that this tour was a memorable way to see ceramic materials in your everyday life. And like Scott said, there are so many jobs out there in the future of ceramic and glass technology, and particularly for bricks, Belden has so many opportunities as well. And so I wanted to end on one opportunity that we can show in this slide, which the Ceramic and Glass Industry Foundation is focused on educational outreach for material science. And we're particularly focused on ceramics and glass, but we encompass the broad range of material science. And so I'm showing an image here on the bottom of a slide where you can scan a QR code and learn more about our demonstration kits and opportunities for us to give you money so that you can do science outreach in your classroom or at your home. And so if you're interested, this QR code will take you to a link on our website where you can learn more about our demonstration kit. We have a mini version that works well at home, and then we also have one that's completely focused on glass. We also offer money for up to $600 for supplemental funding so that you can learn more about material science wherever you are. And so it's at no cost to you. Please check out that link. I want to thank everyone for their time today, for coming and attending this field trip. And most importantly, I wanted to thank Scott and everyone there at the Belden Brick Company. And so, Scott, I'll turn it back to you to close us out and say goodbye to this great group of students.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope it was informative to you. Um, be proud of what you do when you go from your school years to your transition in your work years. Uh, just realize that there's everybody needs help out there, and do the best you can from here out. Good luck to you.